coming up on the November 1st edition of Carolina Week. Some say it's the biggest win in the history of Carolina football. We'll have highlights and reaction.
The final push is on in the race for the White House and other important state and local offices.
And Halloween night on Franklin Street. Crazy college kids in creative costumes. Always a wild time.
Plus a look at your Election Day weather forecast. All that and more.
Carolina Week starts now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday edition of Carolina Week. I'm Courtney Robinson.
And I'm Joe Mott. Halloween, one of the biggest nights of the year on Franklin Street. We'll have a review.
We're on the eve of Election Day, one of the most important elections our country has seen. We'll have a preview.
But we start with a history-making event at Carolina, the Tar Heels' big football win against the Miami Hurricanes. Sports anchor Luke Notstein joins us now.
Well, Luke, nobody gave the Heels much of a chance against the Hurricanes.
Yeah, they sure didn't, but Carolina does the unbelievable, and the atmosphere in Kenan Stadium was nothing short of electric. Here's a quick wrap of the game. Darian Durant passes to John Hamlet, makes like Shakespeare, and plays his way down the field. Then freshman Connor Barth nails this field goal as time expires to give the Heels the win 31-28. Fans rush the field and start celebrating maybe a little bit early for Halloween, but it's the program's first ever win against a top 5 opponent.
I tell you, that was an absolutely amazing game, and I was definitely there to see it all.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Well, thanks, Luke. Now to elections. With every vote vitally important, 2 candidates have visited the area recently. Students gathered on the steps of South Building for U.S. Senate candidate Richard Burr. Burr embraced the support of UNC students and promoted the Bush campaign as well as his own. He addressed the war against terrorism and his plans for health care in the state. Sophomore Jenny Stevens says a campus that's becoming more conservative could use a senator like Burr.
This generation is a lot more conservative than previous generations, and his conservative values stand for what we stand for. I mean, if you look around UNC, it's a lot more conservative than it used to be.
If Burr is elected, 2 Republican senators will represent North Carolina in Congress. Elizabeth Dole is the senator already in office.
That open seat has been vacated by the vice presidential hopeful whose tour took him through North Carolina, and he brought some star power with him. John Edwards returned home Friday night, greeting a raucous crowd of 6,500 who filled Dorton Arena in Raleigh. Potential Second Lady Elizabeth Edwards spoke, as did Edwards' daughter, Kate. But the headliner of the event was singer Jon Bon Jovi. The singer's acoustic set was a little loud for some. Edwards, who voted before making it to the arena, didn't use his stump speech, but still tried to appeal to Carolina voters.
The values that all of you believe in are on that ballot. And I'll tell you something, George Bush and Dick Cheney do not hear the voices of the people that we grew up with.
Edwards' Friday visit was his last to North Carolina before the election.
Tuesday is Election Day, but many North Carolinians won't be going to the polls. That's because about 1 million took advantage of one-stop absentee voting and cast their votes early at sites such as the Moorhead Planetarium. In Orange County, more than 30,000 people, or 32% of registered voters, have already voted. 19% of Wake County's voters have already visited the polls, and 30% of Durham County's registered voters voted early. North Carolina is one of 31 states offering early voting. This year's early turnout is more than double that of the 2000 election. 2 recent polls conducted by students in the School of Journalism contain some very good news for the president and his supporters. A phone poll puts Bush ahead of Senator Kerry in the Tar Heel state, 60-39. The numbers are similar in a mail poll, with Bush leading by 18 percentage points. The polls contain mixed results in the U.S. Senate race, with the first showing a statistically even race, but the second showing a comfortable margin for Republican Richard Burr. And it's good news for incumbent Democratic Governor Michael Easley, who leads challenger Patrick Ballantyne by 14 percentage points in one poll and 12 in the other. Both polls have a margin of error of plus or minus 4 points.
We have 2 guests with us in the studio today, Robin Sinababu, Vice President of the Young Democrats, and Paige Michael Shetley with the College Republicans. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Paige, we'll start with you. What's your reaction to these polls we've looked at?
Well, what I think these polls clearly demonstrate is that President Bush and his strong leadership, his message of low taxation, of conservative values has taken hold with the state of North Carolina, and that Richard Burr has been discovered by the North Carolinian people as the senator who will fight for them and who will represent their values in the Senate.
And Robin, could you tell me your reaction, please?
Well, I think this poll is reflects a much wider margin than some of the other reliable polls that I've seen showing Kerry up by maybe 10 or 11 points instead of 21. But I don't think that reflects a difference in the state races. North Carolina is notorious for going Republican in national races, and then with the state with its Eastern Democrats voting Democrat within the state.
Well, Robin, what about these huge numbers of people who they've already voted? Is that a plus for Senator Kerry, you think?
Well, I think so. Just from what I've seen on campus and from data that's come in from around the state, it seems like young people are voting a lot early on campuses and throughout the state in general. And young people, I think, are voting overwhelmingly Democratic. One thing that polls don't show, for example, is that young voters who overwhelmingly use cell phones and aren't polled do vote Democratic. So I think that when you look at polls, you have to take that into account.
And Paige, what do you think? Do you have a different take on that, maybe?
Well, I have no idea what he's talking about. I think that young voters are split along party lines probably a little more evenly than he thinks. Certainly there are a fair number of Democratic voters. Young people have been traditionally a Democratic base. But you know, the Republican Party is reaching out to young voters. We've done a very good job of bringing young voters into the party. And we have an active early voting program. We've gotten lots of people out to the polls early. In fact, I've gone door to door, knocked on people's doors, and almost everyone I've talked to has said they've actually voted early. So I think that the early voting statistics benefit us.
Well, Paige, whoever wins, to use a common catchphrase here, can't we all just get along?
Well, it's unfortunate that we're as divided as we are in this country, but it really reflects more two competing ideologies. I hope that after this election we can all come together. I hope that whoever is elected president can put a number of people from the opposition party in his cabinet, and that we can come together and heal our wounds and do the business we need to do in this country.
Well, Robin, with the partisan divide, how do we get past the tremendously negative tone of this campaign?
Well, I think it'll end once the campaign ends. 4 years ago, we saw a very, very bitter fight right up until early December when Al Gore officially conceded. But once that happened, save for the protests at the inauguration and a few other protests, I think that generally people came together in a way that was very surprising considering how divided people were throughout November and through early December. So I think that regardless of the outcome of the election, even though it's unlikely to be so contested as it was last time, I think people will fall back in rank, I guess.
Gentlemen, again, we thank you for joining us in the studio. Well, college students don't need much of an excuse to party.
But most get-togethers aren't this wild or colorful. Halloween night on Franklin Street, the ghoulish details when we come back.
Hello. Yes. Can I ask a few questions about the apartment on Park Street?
What was your name?
My name is Juan Hernandez.
It's been rented.
Oh, it's gone. Hello, my name is Sanjay Kumar. I am calling about the apartment on Park Street.
It's not available.
Not available? Hello, my name is Tyrone Washington. I'm calling about the apartment on Park Street.
Just been rented.
Hello, I am Chen Ling. My name is Khalid bin Ali. I'm Tuan Vo. Hello, my name is Moshe Goldberg. I use a wheelchair. It's gone. Not available. All right. Thank you. Yes, hello, my name is Graham Wellington. I'm calling about the apartment for rent on Park Street. Is that still available?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Really?
Housing discrimination is illegal. If you think you've been a victim because of your race, color, national origin, sex, religion, disability, or family status, call us. Fair housing. It's not an option. It's the law.
A UNC Chapel Hill student remains in the hospital tonight with bacterial meningitis. The local health officials are working to make sure everyone who's been in contact with this student gets treated immediately. 18-year-old freshman Jonathan Davis is in fair condition after receiving the diagnosis last Thursday. The infection can be treated with a dose of the antibiotic Cipro if caught early enough. Officials from Orange County Health Department, UNC hospitals, and student health sent out emails to the entire UNC campus urging students and faculty to get the antibiotic. Student Health Director Bob Wyrig says meningitis causes a lot of worry on college campuses.
This is a serious disease. It's very rare, however, but because of its seriousness, it gets a lot of attention.
Since Thursday, more than 1,100 doses have been administered at Student Health and Granville Towers.
In other news, a tour through historic Hillsborough is all ghost story hounds needed to get in the Halloween spirit. A dim lantern led the way as legend lovers made their way through the old streets of Hillsborough. At each stop on the tour, visitors heard stories about ghosts who supposedly walked through walls or announced themselves with the scent of lilac. Organizers say the tour offers the thrill of ghost stories and even a few lessons in Hillsborough's history.
And we have some true stories that don't even need ghosts or hauntings to be sensational. We have the story of the regulators and Edmund Fanning as well, about an angry mob who took their revenge out on him.
Saturday was the last day of the haunted tour, but the Alliance for Historic Hillsborough offers guided walking tours anytime by appointment.
Students take weeks getting ready for Halloween night on Franklin Street. As Carolina Week reporter Adriana Hopkins tells us, some might consider spending more of that time thinking about what others find offensive.
Halloween on Franklin. You'll see some of the craziest costumes imaginable. After last year's blackface scandal at Auburn University, Greek Affairs Director Jay Anhorn sent an email to the Greek listserv asking students not to wear any racially offensive or inappropriate costumes. I never saw any racially offensive costumes, but inappropriate is the subjective word in Chapel Hill. After the Twin Towers strolled by and Christopher Reeve did a wheelchair dance for the crowd, maybe the word insensitive better describes some Halloween costumes. Some students say, on this holiday, anything goes.
Halloween is fun. Halloween is fun. I'm sure if anyone is a strict Catholic, they'll probably find it offensive, but it's a holiday.
Who cares? Not every costume fits into the inappropriate or insensitive category. Some people chose to make a political statement.
I think we should, in 2004, we need to save Elian Gonzalez. We need to bring him back to America.
John Terry, hope is on the way to Facebook.
For some Carolina students, there might be no hope, but they insist it's all in good fun. In Chapel Hill, I'm Adriana Hopkins reporting for Carolina Week.
Some interesting costumes there. Well, Joe, that Halloween fell on a Sunday this year. It didn't seem to stop spooksters from heading out to Franklin Street.
Yeah, Chapel Hill police report that the Halloween crowd peaked at about 80,000 people. Police issued 32 citations and charged one person with carrying a concealed weapon. Well, ghosts, ghouls, and goblins weren't alone in town this weekend. Homecoming celebrations brought out thousands of Carolina alumni. Reporter Rhonda Evans has the story.
A college homecoming is always a highly anticipated event, especially for those who have graduated and are coming back. Alumni returned this weekend from across the country for Homecoming 2004. So what do they do when they get here?
We went to Ham's to eat, which was good, and then we climbed the bell tower and went around at Tar Heel town.
The homecoming game is just one of a few events alumni can participate in while in town. Director of Enrichment Programs Rick Davis says the General Alumni Association tries to provide events that effectively reach all alumni.
Our African American, known as the Black Alumni Reunion, is in its 24th year. Those type of reunions are certainly growing, expanding, and are continuing to attract more and more alumni.
The Black Alumni Reunion did attract a number of people, but planned events aren't the only activities returning alumni look forward to.
Hanging out on campus, laying around in the quad.
Yeah,
just enjoying the weather, eating out at good places that we miss.
For many of us, those will be fond memories soon. In Chapel Hill, I'm Rhonda Evans, Carolina Week.
The one thing the university wants those of us who are soon going to be alumni to remember: send money. Well, the football team wasn't the only winner at Kenan Stadium on Saturday.
TJ Abrams and Rhonda Fox were crowned homecoming king and queen before the game. Both are excited to win and eager to begin their service projects.
I was so excited, shocked. I had no clue that we were going to win. It was a really tough competition. There were some beautiful and amazing women very talented women that are running for this title. So it's just a blessing to be considered amongst those women, and then let alone to win. Like, it's just so exciting.
It's a great feeling to know, after 4 years that or 3.5 years being here at Carolina, that I'm going to be able to be in this position, and that students, voted for me because they believe that I'm the person that can help, rally people around this issue. So.
Miami T-shirts weren't the only orange that fans saw after the football game Saturday. Orange barrels lined I-40 when the North Carolina Department of Transportation closed one lane of the eastbound interstate Saturday through Sunday morning. The DOT suggested detour routes for people leaving the game, but the closure caused traffic delays even through Sunday. Well, weathercaster Erin Moore joins us now.
Mid-80s in November, something is completely off track
I know,
here.
it's very strange, but we are going to be getting back into fall weather throughout this week, so we'll have more of that when Carolina Week returns.
Great, thanks, Erin.
It's wonderful. Yeah, I'm looking.
Can I help you, sir?
Found these over by the stairs.
Okay, thank you.
What are they?
Love handles. Lots of people lose them taking the stairs instead of the escalator.
Years ago, Lewis and Clark set out to discover an all-water route to the Pacific. But what they really discovered were 58 hospitable nations who could have ended their journey at any time, but saved it instead. As we commemorate their bicentennial, we invite you to walk with them at lewisandclark200.org and see what you discover, because their trail winds through us all.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm weathercaster Erin Moore here with the Check of the Weather headlines. Well, it wasn't only hot on the football field here in Chapel Hill this weekend. We had highs in the 80s all weekend, which will continue as you head out to the polls tomorrow. The cold front is approaching on Wednesday on into Thursday, which could bring us some thunderstorms Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday evening. So just keep that in mind. As we take a look at the satellite map, we see this is the area of the cold front that's going to be coming through. In Texas, Louisiana, up into Missouri and Illinois, they have been battered with storms all week, and we're going to be seeing that on Wednesday. Just behind it, we have a second area of low pressure that's going to be coming through probably Thursday or Friday. It's not going to be a weather maker for us. We're just going to see some increasing cloudiness. Behind that, we have an area of high pressure that's going to keep our weekend gorgeous. We're going to see very sunny skies all weekend. As we take a look at the surface map, you see we've got an area of high pressure right here over the Atlantic that's been keeping our winds coming from the south and southwest, which is bringing us some warm, moist air that we've been feeling since Saturday. Again, here's that cold front that's going to be coming through Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday evening. And behind here again, this other trough of low pressure that's going to be coming. But again, like I said, that's not going to affect our weather too much. As we look at the 4-day forecast, Tuesday, we're going to see a high of 82 and low of 64 as you head out to the polls. It's going to be a beautiful day to stand out in line. Wednesday, we see that thunderstorms that we're going to check in the afternoon. Our high should only be in 68. Check out that difference from 82 to 68. We got a 14-degree difference from Tuesday to Wednesday. On Thursday and Friday, we're going to see highs in the mid-60s and lows in the low 40s. So as we head into November, let's take a look at our October rainfall totals. For the month, we have 2.5 inches, and our average is just under 3.25 inches. Year to date, we're at 41 inches, we're about 4.5 inches over. So we've had a wet October, and looks like we're going to see possibly an inch of rain on Wednesday. So we're going to keep that wet trend along. So.
It has definitely been the most interesting fall that I've seen in a long time. Thanks a lot.
It has.
Well, Luke Notestein joins us now.
Luke, just as our warm weather, I feel like the Carolina athletic teams are heating up.
Oh, definitely heating up. It may actually be the best win for UNC football ever. And that leads us to our trivia question for the week, which says, before Saturday night, when was the last time UNC played Miami in football? Is it 1932, 1946, 1963, or 1976. You students out there may not have even been born the last time these schools battled on the gridiron, but they clashed Saturday in Keenan, and it turned out to be a game for the ages. Now, come on, play Miami for homecoming? You gotta be crazy, like Halloween on Franklin Street crazy. Well, it seems that someone somewhere out there knew something that the rest of us didn't.
All we needed was a field goal, and I knew we'd just come out there and get Darian some protection. He'd be able to pick defense apart, made a couple big plays, found a lot of open guys downfield. We was able to position the ball in the middle of the field, set it up perfectly for Connor Barr.
It's probably the biggest kick of my life. Never had a game winner in my life before until this one. It's just, what a better team. You know, Miami, it's just number 3, number 4. Just knocked them out of a BCS probably. It's incredible.
Snap, spot, kick away, high enough, long enough. It's good! It's good!
You got to keep believing. I think they've never stopped believing in themselves. The first one that Chad Scott. I mean, this young man has the game of his career, in the game of his life, and that young man really did a terrific job out there. And you know, overall, I mean, it's our best defensive performance. I mean, our statistics still aren't going to be great, but we probably won't be a top 10 defense. Doesn't matter to me. We got better. We got better as a defense. I feel personally excited for our football team and our football staff. I'm excited myself. I've been around a lot of big wins. This is one of the big ones. But I'm really excited for those kids because they really worked so hard to get it.
This is the first time in the history of Carolina football that the Heels have knocked off a top 5 ranked team. Miami, welcome to the ACC. But big ACC matchups don't stop there as Duke came to Carolina for some court action. The Blue Devils, well, they brought some fans with them for support, and they need it. Camille Ayanaitu gets ready for a nice slam here, doesn't even need a set. And at it with some trick shots, the Heels take the first game. In the second game, the Heels win with players giving up their bodies and the fans giving up their dignity. But the Blue Devils stood tall in the third game, and the Heels came out, well, a little slow. But once the Carolina fans moved in and took away Duke's weapons, left Molly Piles free to add another kill onto her 21 for the night right here, helping the Heels take the match 3-0. Piles says it was a good win, and beating Duke is always extra special.
I'm a senior. That's going to be the last time I play them in regular conference play, so they're in my house, and it just felt wonderful. All the fans, it was great.
The volleyball team continued its strong play at Wake Forest later in the weekend, sweeping the Deacs 3-0. With the win, the Heels took sole possession of second place in the ACC. Well, the two shades of blue clash in another battle between rivals on the field. With some fancy footwork, we'll show you what the women's soccer team did to send fireworks over Fetzer Field.
Like I said earlier, if they want to win this game,
Come on.
And it's a block.
What kind of kick was that? You've got to be kidding me!
Hey, hot shot. Sounds like you know a lot about the game.
You should put that to use. Come on, let's go take a jog.
There are plenty of ways that you can volunteer in your community.
Just figure out what you like to do and pass it on to others.
And you know what? You can have a lot of fun doing it, too.
Pick those knees up. Keep going. Pick those legs up. Let's go. All right now, show them how to kick that ball.
To find out ways you can volunteer in your community, log on to teensvolunteer.org.
Okay, Ben, here we go, buddy. That was great, Ben. This time, just try to kick the ball.
Do what you like to do. Volunteer.
Some Tar Heels played at Fetzer Field for the last time on Sunday when the men's soccer team faced off against Wake Forest on Senior Day. The Heels welcomed the crowd to their final home game with gifts, but they weren't giving away goals in a scoreless first half. Deacons come out strong after the break. Amir Lowry finds Scott Seeley for the goal. Then Carolina's Marcus Story tries to take it back to Wake Forest as he comes up right here, but the keeper makes a great save. Ford Williams works to get his team back into the game, and Corey Ash listens. Streaking down the field, he shoots, but can't find the back of the net. Then Stephen Keel for Wake Forest puts this shot away, and the Deacons win 2-0. Well, there's nothing like a little intimidation to start off Thursday's game against Duke. Heather O'Reilly shows off her ups, and it seems to have an effect as Casey White brings the ball down the sideline, crosses it over Jamie Gilbert. Annie Morrell with the goal. her 4th of the season and Carolina's 1st of the night. UNC continues to control momentum in the first half with seven shots, but the Duke goalie was there every single time. The Halloween festivities during halftime definitely make the fans a little dizzy, but I think this girl's costume was a little too out there. Come on, what are you thinking? That lone fan must have motivated the Blue Devils to score at the 50-minute mark right here. But the 1-all tie didn't last long. Watch this. Jamie Gilbert with the rocket launches it upper 90 post. The Heels go on to win 2-1, and yeah, brush your shoulder off just a bit. Fireworks cap off the evening's game, but junior Lori Kolupny knows that practice for the tourney is just around the corner.
Well, I think we're going to try to get better every day in practice, and the ACC tournament is kind of a way to polish things up for the NCAA tournament. So that's definitely, we're going to be working really hard in practice the next week or so.
With the women's soccer and volleyball wins, Carolina increases its all-sports Carlisle Cup lead against Duke 3-1. And the soccer team isn't the only team looking towards the ACC. The second-ranked field hockey team heads home after its 4-1 win at number 6 Old Dominion to prepare for the ACC tournament. The Heels will be the number 1 seed when the tourney opens Thursday in Winston-Salem. And the women's cross-country team ran away from most of the competition Saturday in the ACC championships. The Heels finished second with 3 Lady Heels earning all ACC honors. Have you ever played your grandmother in tennis? Well, that's kind of what it was like for the Carolina swim team Friday at Corey. UNC held the Tar Heel Invitational for the 28th time, and the men led off with a bang against NC State, Gardner-Webb, and Campbell University. The fans looked on as Carolina swept the 400 IM in dominating fashion in the meet as well. The Lady Heels took some time to compare hand sizes before waving goodbye to the competition, with wins in the 400 IM 200 relay and the mile. They swam away with an impressive victory in an easy night's work. Well, guys, ton of sports going on this weekend. Football team, just amazing. Did you guys go to the game?
Oh, definitely. We were there.
That was the first time that I've ever seen Carolina win a game at home. So
yeah, absolutely amazing.
Fighting for me.
But now, do you have an answer for the trivia question?
Yeah, I was looking back. I think D, 1976. I think that's about far enough back, don't you think?
You're close. The
Fully
answer is
confident.
actually C, 1963. The Tar Heels actually won that game too, and how spooky is this? That win helped propel UNC into a bowl game. This year's team needs to win 2 of its last 3 to be bowl eligible, so maybe this win against Miami might help do the trick.
I would love that. Thanks, Luke. Well, it's not every day that Carolina student gets a special delivery from a famous hip-hop mogul.
Find out what was in the box and why it's so motivating students to vote or die.
Come on, boy. Come on. What do you got there, Yogi? Huh? What have you found? What do you got, little fella? Drop it. Looks like someone's butt. Man, they probably lost it playing with their kids. Hey, leave it. Come on. Come on.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
Students are gearing up for Election Day with a little excitement and a big surprise from a famous figure. Students were out in the pit Monday, sharing dance moves, poetry, and songs in an effort to get students pumped to go vote. They're also sharing Vote or Die t-shirts that were sent to one UNC student from Sean P. Diddy Combs himself. Erica Barrera wrote a letter to Combs, and he responded by giving her a telephone interview and sending the shirts. The interview will be played on Radio 1 stations nationwide. Well, that does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching and have a good night.